right here.
Hi, Paul. This is Warner Brothers Studios calling you. We have a proposition for you, and we have this brand new film coming out soon that we have in pre-production. It's another great superhero film. It's based on everyone's favorite magical hero, Shazam! And we would love it for you to be our lead actor in that, because it's going to be a barn-burning comedy. We really would like you to be the lead in this.
Ooh. I'd actually love to do that. It sounds really great. But I just signed on for Ant-Man. I don't think I can do both at the same time. I think Marvel would really not like that very much.
Paul, you don't understand. This is going to revolutionize and make the DC superhero film franchise greater than Marvel's. We offer you a stake in Sierra Nevada's brewing if you take on this endeavor.
Really? Sounds great. Bombastic. I like it. Unfortunately, I'm just going to have to pass on this one.
Well, thanks, Paul. We'll try looking elsewhere, I guess.
I do want to try out the catchphrase, though. What's the catchphrase?
That's only for the lead actors. Sorry, Paul. Alright, god damn it. Joyce, look up Paul Rudd impersonators. Or we're gonna be fucked.
Blood and Black Rum Podcast presents Shazam. Hey guys, welcome back to the Blood and Black Rum Podcast. I'm Ryan from cultsploitation.com, and I'm joined by my co-host Martin.
How's it going?
And we're back again with another superhero movie because they're just like coming out, bam, bam, bam.
Because we're not just a horror podcast. We're not doing Pet Sematary first.
Nope. We're doing the superhero movies because that's what sells.
We're doing Captain Marvel.
One thing that I will say that's kind of funny is that Shazam just released in theaters last week. And in our movie theater that we had, and it's the only one in town now, there were three other people in the entire theater, which was kind of alarming because Shazam actually had a really good opening weekend. And to see that our movie theater, that literally, I will say again, the only one around now, only had three people in it besides us, that was a little bit alarming. Like we better get some people into these movie theaters stat, or else we're not going to have a movie theater anymore.
We're going to have to start driving out to Albany.
Like fucking 45 to 50 minutes just to get to a movie. But we did see Shazam this weekend. Or, well, not this weekend, actually. It was Tuesday. Tuesday night.
Captain Marvel 2.
Basically, yeah. And, so we were looking up, because I don't really know that much about Shazam at all. I have read the origin story that was like Shazam number 0 that was in some New 52 comic, I think. But other than that, I don't really know that much about the character. But we were looking up some information about him. And yeah, I was surprised to find that literally his name was Captain Marvel in the 1930s.
I didn't know that. I remember back in the day when History Channel actually used to do history things and not just fucking terrible
Ancient Aliens
reality TV shows. They did, this is like back in 2004, 2005. They did a documentary series on the history of comic books, narrated by Keith David. Delightful. And it was pretty cool, and that's how I knew about Shazam, but back in the day, originally known as Captain Marvel. So that's something I always, I've known for quite a while.
It's a weird situation that occurred in the whole
comics are kind
history of comics.
Comics are kind of bankrupt as it is on ideas, even since like the 60s. Everyone's got to be pure of heart, and
So at that time, when Captain Marvel came out, there was already Superman, right?
Yeah.
And so that is a really weird kind of scenario because this was not originally a DC comic. It was a Fawcett comic. And so for DC to go out of their way and say like, yeah, we'll pick it up. That's kind of weird because they were really, really similar characters between Superman and Captain Marvel. So for them to go out of their way and sort of license this character may have been, it may make sense because they may have wanted to distance the character from Superman because they were so similar. So in one way, you're spending money on licensing this character that might be the same as your other character, Superman, but at the same time, you're kind of limiting your
competition.
The competition on this too, because if you got a guy in a separate comic universe that is really the same as Superman, you're gonna want to do your best to distance that character from yours.
I know, but at the same time, think about redundant characters throughout.
Sure. There's a bunch of redundant characters.
So
you can actually, a lot of the characters, and even Shazam, as we'll talk about in the film review itself, Shazam has a lot of redundancy in its background of how Shazam comes to be and character motivation. It's all really the same. And so there's a lot of redundancy that you get when you're just talking about comic book origin stories that I think pops up throughout all of comic history. So yeah, we talk about comic movies quite a bit on this show, and I think that we probably seem like we're comicked out. But at the same time, when a DC Comics film comes around, we're all in because I don't want to say that we're expecting it to be bad.
I am.
But in general, they tend to be. So I think we were a little bit more surprised with Aquaman being as good as it was, which I wouldn't say it was great, but it was at least a step up from...
You liked it more than I did.
Yeah. It was at least a step up from some of the other films in the DC universe. And then, when we get to Shazam, I will say that I did not have very high expectations for it, especially seeing the trailer and sort of the way that the trailer was cut made it seem very corny and childish.
But to be fair, what trailers out there these days are any good?
That's true.
They're all the same.
They're all very, very similar.
I've said it 1,000 times on here. I miss the 1970s 4-minute long trailer with the narrator spelling out the entire film for you. Yeah. That's what I want brought back. None of this constant jump cut, things,
Yeah, it is very. They're all very laid out, and they think about it a lot. I'm sure there's a PR group that is just sitting there what did Wonder Woman do? Okay, cut it the same way. And so I thought Shazam, it didn't really have much promise to it. But going into this film and watching it, I was pleasantly surprised, and I know that a lot of other people were as well. And one of the things that Shazam does not have is the Zack Snyder darkness surrounding it, the swirling black emo-ness of a Zack Snyder film. And I think that's helpful because especially for Shazam, because Shazam is more of a lighthearted comic. And it's not really something... It focuses on darker things, but at the same time, it's sort of what I would call a young adult comic. It's not completely...
A shonen!
Right, yeah. It's not completely an adult dark comic like what I would call Batman, because Batman has a lot of different feeling to it than...
Well, Batman's everything. I think over the recent years, the whole... Especially after, now in the mainstream, after, the... Chris Nolan trilogy. It's become so hyper focused on Batman's the dark and gritty comic. If you really want dark, gritty stories, it's yes, you're missing out several decades where Batman's look at this little goofy,
Yeah. I would say now Batman is very dark, and
which is a shame too, because you want to know what one of the best Batman films is? The one with fucking Adam West.
Yeah,
I love that movie. It's not my favorite Batman movie, but it's so great.
But I think we're seeing that shift, especially in DC now, where they're sort of focusing on characters that can be both somewhat darker, but also with more comedic nature to it. Things that didn't really work out so well for Batman v Superman, which was constantly brooding.
The whole time. It's just whiny cry fest.
Yeah. And then Suicide Squad, which was sort of a weird combination.
Trying to be funny, but which I don't understand, by the way, either, how that incarnation of Harley Quinn is so popular.
Right. I'm not a big fan either.
It's fucking terrible.
I don't love that incarnation. It's not
Like,
to me, it's not really Harley Quinn.
It's like fucking Juggalo shit.
Yeah, it's a weird mix of like.
Sorry, Juggalos.
What they got from Harley Quinn and like sort of a new conventional style of Harley Quinn. I don't know. It's really strange, but back to Shazam. I definitely didn't have high expectations for it, but I will say that, before we get into the film itself, I was pleasantly surprised with what we got because it's so far away from some of the other, like the starting point of the DC universe, which I think we should mention has sort of been announced that it's not really so much of a universe anymore as it is characters within a shared world, which, I mean, again, sort of gets confusing, but it's
not confusing. Because it's still a shared, connected universe.
Yeah.
It's just that the first couple of Marvel films weren't connected. That's why you had Iron Man, then like Thor, and then Iron Man, and then Captain America, then Iron,
Yeah, I think the big announcement with that is not that, there's not characters that kind of come and go and flip between films. It's that the universe itself, they're not building. Right now, they're not building towards anything that combines all of these characters again like Justice League, which I think is probably the best idea because it was a terrible idea to have only 2 films come out and then plop in a Justice League here. It's just not, there was not enough building of character to really cement that idea.
Oh, yeah, they like we said before on like Batman v Superman, Justice League, they just like, it's like you fucked it up. Like you did everything ass backwards.
Yeah.
Like you rushed to like like Batman v Superman should have been your Civil War, your midpoint film.
Yeah.
Where, that, again, it's like, I'm not an English major like Ryan, but it's like, I understand like rising action, climax, and like character arcs, and like they gotta reach a high point and then reach low and have rivalry, and they just like fucking threw it all in the first act. Like, oh yeah, we're not gonna do a Batman film. Man of Steel was like 10 years ago. We're gonna do Batman v Superman because wouldn't that just be cool and make a shit ton of money? And then like, oh, it goes nowhere, and then we do Wonder Woman and it does its own thing, and then like, oh, Justice League.
Yeah,
it's just a fucking clusterfuck.
I think they were smart to take a step back and say, okay, all of the collaboration film didn't work, so we're going to take a step back and we're going to do some solo films with some franchises that may not be as
Shazam's
popular.
Shazam is part of the Justice League.
Yeah.
So is, Aquaman.
But it depends on the iteration that they want to showcase, and I think that it's better to take a look at those films in a more like piecemeal light rather than trying to throw them all together just because you want to do a full group film. Like with Shazam, it works perfectly on its own, and they seem to have, which we'll talk about later in the show, they seem to have a good grasp on where they want to go from here with Shazam specifically. And it seems more of a lead up that they would naturally have like Marvel does, where they have a natural lead up to a new film for one specific character, and then they go from there. And that's how you sort of build that shared universe of having all of these things happening at once, and then you can kind of pull other characters in as needed to help with those threats. Like we were talking about in Shazam, there is a significant lack of Superman, who should be all over this case because technically the film takes place in Philadelphia, which does not have a superhero, which has been stated multiple times within the film itself. They say, Shazam is the first superhero. So you would think Superman would be all over this sort of galactic...
And I was laughing too, because I was telling you, I'm like, DC doesn't use real cities in America. They all, they have Metropolis, Gotham. You always have, Star City, all these, different places, to act as...
A placeholder.
Yeah,
for, Gotham is New York City.
Yeah, and Metropolis is Chicago.
Yeah.
But nope. It's hey, we got fucking Will Smith basically in West Philadelphia, born and raised.
Yeah.
It's just fucking weird. It's It's like how, like I've been saying to you 1,000 times over. It's like how in Red Dead 2, it totally throws me off. For 20 years, Rockstar doesn't mention any real cities, and now in Dead 2, they're just bandying about like New York City, Saratoga, Atlanta, Denver.
Yeah. So, but I think this is the step in the right direction for DC. And
so, who's next?
Well, that's a good question. Who is next?
I think Cyborg's next, but at the same time, like,
yeah,
should Cyborg?
You would think that they would want to do both Cyborg and the Flash as part of their next iteration of films. Although Wonder Woman 1984 is around the corner as well.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
So, who knows? I'm not really sure exactly what's on the docket. And then Aquaman 2, obviously, is also in production.
I really think they should cancel Cyborg.
Well, I don't think it's a terrible idea to give this character more depth with his own solo story. The problem is that they already did it in Justice League. They already did a lot of his solo story in Justice League.
But then again, like I'm mainly saying because he's such a niche character.
True. It's also, there's the issue of, like, what do you do with a character like that?
Like, where's, this is where you want to be. Like, we're going to reboot Green Lantern, we want,
sure. Yeah.
Like when they, like, fully accept, like, if they ever get around to Justice League 2 and they have a full team, like, does Martian Manhunter really need a movie? No. As cool as it would be.
Right. You just don't want to stick him in there like Katana, where you have, like, nothing going on with that character, and then all of a sudden, they're here.
Like, same thing, Green Arrow. Like, Green Arrow would be, like, a redundancy, too, like, if they were to put him into the cinematic universe.
Yeah.
As cool as it would be to see, like, oh, he's got his own movie. There's only,
Yeah.
so much, because eventually it just becomes, oh, he's Batman with arrows.
Yeah, and then the other problem is that they have that whole, the TV series that are going on at the same time, and so, especially with The Flash, you have a conflict there. With the Flash,
which is
TV
weird,
series and the Flash of the film series.
Why not make they're both Barry Allen, and
it is a terrible idea.
Which is one thing I don't understand. Like, it's Barry Allen in the show and Barry Allen in the why couldn't you
room to make it not Barry Allen?
Why couldn't you have Wally West?
Right.
Yeah. It'd be the same thing. Like if they had like a Green Lantern TV show, and it's like, oh, that's Hal Jordan. Why not have like the Green Lantern in the movie series be like Jon Stewart or Kyle Rayner?
Yeah.
Just,
just a lot of missteps here. But the main thing I want to come back to before we go into our beer talk is that Shazam is a step in the right direction. And we'll leave it at that for now as we end our intro and go into beer talk for today. So on today's docket for beer, we have Peak Organic Brewing Company, which is
have not had on the podcast.
Yeah, it's kind of strange. I don't know why, but I just don't go out of my way to get Peak Brewing Company.
I know why. It's expensive.
Yeah,
and they slap the made from organic.
It's true.
At least for me. Not to sound like the person that hates that. I mean, I don't buy it because it's pretty expensive around here.
Yeah.
The whole like they use organic stuff. I'm fine with it, but at the same time, it's not something that speaks. I don't care. It's like with the whole Bud Light campaign. Like, oh, Miller and Coors uses corn syrup. I don't fucking care.
True.
Don't care. Like trying to avoid corn syrup at this point is like best of luck. You can't. You really can't. And you know what, Bud? Makes your beer taste better. So.
Yeah. Well, the only thing I really know about Peak Brewing Company is that they tend to do a seasonal IPA because I know I've had their fall IPA before. And then the other thing I know is that they have a pretty minimalistic can. And I like that, actually. I like the minimalistic style of their cans. So I went out of my way this time to get a pack because it was on sale for 50% off. And I couldn't pass up on that, especially for their winter seasonal pack. So I did pick one up. And the shared beer that we had today was the Fresh Cut Hoppy Pilsner. And that one,
which I would even consider like a Pilsner from the way, like how hoppy it is.
It is very hoppy, yeah. That one is...
it's light, crisp, and refreshing, but it's more like, I'd say, like a kind of like a session IPA.
Sure, yeah, it's definitely light, but it does have that pretty lingering hoppy flavor to it. And I guess I would say, the Pilsner aspect of it is just that it's very light, but it's at the same time, you're really working towards just being a session IPA or a session IPL in that respect, because there's not that much to distinguish it from another. I mean, it doesn't really taste like a Pilsner.
It's not like you're drinking a Pilsner Urquell, fresh from Bohemia.
Yeah. I mean, I would say that they're correct in saying that it's fresh. It's very easy to drink, very light.
Nice cutting the grass on a nice,
Yeah, but at the same time, like the Pilsner aspect of it is sort of questionable. They could have gotten away with calling this like a pale ale, or
not malty enough.
Yeah, maybe not, but definitely sort of one of those sessionable IPA styles that I don't know. I think once you get into this hoppy style, a lot of things sort of lose their secondary nature, and the hoppiness sort of takes front billing on it, and so you end up getting something like akin to basically a pale ale, or even on the lower IBU side of an IPA. And I think that's exactly what Fresh Cut is. It's very, very on the line between an IPA style and what they're calling a Pilsner.
Yeah.
I'd still say it's good. I mean,
it is.
I definitely enjoyed it. But again, I think we're getting to the point, and I was thinking about this on my drive home, and I was mulling this over. And mostly because you also have been drinking, prior to the beer you have now, you were drinking Harpoon's Summer Pack One Hazy Summer, which is yet again, another New England Pale Ale style, which in that pack, for the Harpoon Summer Pack, they have 2 New England Pale Ales in that
different
pack. And it's like, I, for one, am finding that New England Pale Ales are just a waste of time. I'm not sure why they make them. I can think of a logo for them. I guess a New England Pale Ale would be when you want a drop of trop. You want just a smidgen of a tropical flavor. And at that point, you should just cut up a pineapple and squeeze a little bit into your beer, and then you have.
Well, who wants who wants a smidge of tropical flavor anyway? It's a very distinct and powerful flavor,
And I would say that the New England, like, there's a difference. If you want a pale ale has its place. It's a nice balance between malt and hop that you get with a pale ale. If you want an IPA, you want a stronger hop presence. And if you want a New England IPA, you want that haziness and that tropical flavor to be very pronounced. With a New England Pale Ale, you're not getting a solid pronouncement of tropicalness, and you're not getting a lot of hop. And at that point, you're questioning, why even bother with it? Because you want one or the other.
Well, my question, too, is like when you say like the hazy, because they all have that nice hazy quality. How many people are fucking sitting around pouring their beers into nice, I mean, I know beer snobs like, right. Pour it into my nice flute glass, but I'm not. If I got a beer and it's in a can, you know what I'm drinking it from? The can.
Yeah.
There's no point.
Yeah.
I don't go to the beach like I'm like, we're on the boat here. I brought this 12-pack of New England IPA, and I also brought some champagne glasses too to pour it in so you can all admire the look of it.
Yeah.
I don't care.
And I don't mind the New England IPA rush right now. That's fine. I think there's a place for it. It's basically a tropical IPA. If you want to call whatever you want to call it, if you want to call it a New England IPA, that's fine. And I'm cool with that. But what I'm not cool with is taking that and then distilling it a little bit more and saying it's a New England Pale Ale. Because I find that there's really no point, and there's not a lot of difference between a New England Pale Ale and a New England IPA. You either go big or you just don't do it. And I don't understand, especially with the One Hazy Summer, there's really nothing defining about that beer at all. It's a very mediocre pale ale. It's a mediocre New England style. And they even outdo themselves in the same pack with the Rec League, which is probably one of the best New England pale ale styles that I've ever had.
And it's really light, too.
Yeah, because it's light, but it's got that tropical nature to it. And I think it makes it that much better. Whereas the One Hazy Summer just really doesn't have either of those two qualities to it. And I think it's just a waste of space. You don't want to outdo yourself in your own pack. You don't want to make a new beer and then have a beer that's been around and put it in the same pack where people are like, no, that one's the better beer. Like, why even brew?
They do that all the time.
I know, it's a terrible...
Not just Harpoon, but they do it all the time.
It's a terrible system. Yeah. And I don't understand with this New England Pale Ale fetish that people have now. It's just sort of a waste of time because you could either be brewing a New England IPA or you could be brewing something else. And preferably, I think most people would rather see something else. No one wants to see another NEPA, which I like to call it. NIPA and NEPA.
I mean, I think there's a reason why they keep doing it, because people can't get enough of it.
I think the biggest issue...
Again, which is stupid, because going back to like the Fresh Cut, talking about like, oh, it's a hoppy Pilsner. You want to know why I drink Pilsners? Because they're not hoppy.
Yeah, because it's easy drinking...
Nice, crisp, refreshing, yeah.
Quick drink.
Malt, you know... It has its own type of character. That's what I want. Stop intruding on... Imagine it's like, hey, you like Hefeweizens? I'm going to make a hoppy Hefeweizen. It's like totally goes against what a Hefeweizen is. Yeah. You know, so I mean, it's... Just stop.
I think probably, and I'm not a beer chemist, but I would assume that the draw to a New England Pale Ale is that it probably takes a little less time to brew. And so you have more time to brew it and brew more of it. And I think that may be the next big thing because it's a cheaper thing and it's a less time-consuming thing.
Still sell it for more, though.
Exactly. I'm not like I said, I'm not a beer chemist, so I don't know that for a fact, but I would assume that it takes less time to brew. Especially if you got Harpoon brewing like 3 different New England Pale Ales in a session. That's like, you know... Think
of like they can have another line going for something actually...
Exactly.
You know,
yeah, you could have something completely different.
Worthwhile.
Like a Harpoon Hefeweizen. That's very, very rare. A Harpoon ESB.
Well,
I don't think I've ever seen one.
Well, I mean, to be fair, their UFO series is...
But they've distanced themselves from the Harpoon brand. UFO doesn't even have Harpoon on it anymore.
I know, but I mean, the unfilled, you know, that's all there. But at the same time, though, with the UFOs, like the original and the like raspberry or Hefeweizens, but like they have a Belgian white one.
Yeah.
So it's not all Hefeweizens, but it's like
they're a line of that style. Yeah.
Which I haven't had a UFO in fucking a coon's age. But that's because, but that's going back though to the days where I hated Hefe and I thought they tasted.
You did yesterday. You had a chance to get a pineapple UFO and you didn't get it.
Well, I just didn't want to buy a single of it.
Yeah.
But I would probably like it. Had a Hefeweizen the other day. And I was like, oh, I need this more in my life.
But that's it. No strong recommendations this week. Peak Brewing Company, I've been pretty pleasantly surprised with their pack. I've had all 4 of the different styles in their winter seasonal pack, and I thought they're all pretty good. They have a winter IPA, which is a New England Pale Ale style, and I think they do a pretty good job on all of those, so I definitely wouldn't turn people away from getting a Peak Brewing Company pack or anything like that.
No, it's good stuff. The only thing that turns me off is the price
range.
It's the same thing with like Stone. So the other day, just when we saw Shazam, their 12-pack of like IPA variety pack was $23.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Laughably expensive for the rest of this.
God, like you open up a can, like drink half of it, and like gotta seal it away. Like I'll save that for don't want to blow through it. Like
that's right.
Like you're drinking Johnny Walker Blue or something.
Well, the good thing about that is if you had 2 of their beers, you'd probably be having like 150 IBUs. So you probably would want to save them away.
Doesn't even taste like beer; just tastes like Pine Sol.
Yeah.
Woo! Yeah.
That's what they've done. They've just packaged a whole bunch of Pine Sol. They're like, we're saving loads of money.
Marked it up, Yeah. They should get the Pine Sol way to be the spokesperson.
I actually am way too harsh on Stone because when I went to their brewing den when I was in San Diego.
Oh, den!
I don't know what it's called. I made that up. Their tap room, I should say. I did enjoy it quite a bit. It was probably one of my favorite places when I was in San Diego.
Well, I'm not saying they don't make stuff that's enjoyable. I'm just saying for how much they charge, it's laughable.
It's true.
Yeah. I'm more in the, Johnny Walker Red Label range, not the, not the blue range.
Not the blue. All right, let's talk about Shazam. Shazam with an exclamation mark.
Say my name.
That's right. You wanted to use Destiny's Child in the intro, and Destiny's Child said, no.
Well, you know what? They're not around anymore.
Beyonce said, no.
Well, to be honest with you, how many people these days even remember Destiny's Child even being a thing?
I don't know.
As big as, I mean, they just know.
Seems like a nightmare to me.
They just know Beyonce.
Yeah. Yeah, the other ones, they kind of faded out.
Not Kelly Rowland.
Yeah.
Not the other two.
Yeah, the other ones. Don't know the names, but not the other ones.
Most people probably don't remember they started off as a 4-piece and not a 3-piece. Yeah, deep dive into the 90s.
That's right.
But we should, you know what? You should have done that for Captain Marvel.
What? Yeah. Use the Destiny's Child.
The other Captain Marvel.
That's right.
So Brie Larson, We Hate Men Captain Marvel.
So Shazam is sort of
speaking of when you were talking about we should get a soundboard.
Yeah.
Every time Shazam is mentioned, we should have like a lightning bolt strike.
One thing that reminds me of this a little bit, which I found kind of funny, is I was watching a movie the other day, and I had the subtitles on, and there was thunder crashing, and the subtitles every time, it wasn't like this was a one-time thing, every time it said lightning crashing, and I was like, who doesn't understand how thunder and lightning works? Lightning's the flash, thunder's the boom. How do you not understand that? So that kind of reminds me of it.
I think they're referencing Liv's song. Lightning crash.
I just found it kind of funny because lightning does not boom or crash or anything like that unless you're so close to it that you just got fried and you hear the zap of electricity. But other than that, so that just reminded me of that.
Yeah, that's another underrated 90s reference right there. Live.
Yeah. Totally off topic, but just had to bring it up because it did bother me. But anyway, Shazam is a new lighthearted, I would say, action comedy from DC.
It's Ant-Man and Spider-Man.
Yeah.
But in DC.
Yeah, DC really, I feel
ripped off.
Well, they ripped off, but for good reasons, because it makes sense to have more of a Spider-Man, sort of Ant-Man style with Shazam. And they really have done a good job of mimicking the style of both of those films, and making Shazam more of a lighthearted film approaching this, I guess I would say like somewhat grim tale with more of a comedic approach. So they enlisted the help of Zachary Levi as the titular character Shazam.
They found him in Dayton, Ohio, doing Paul Rudd impressions.
Well, if you don't know Zachary Levi, he was the biggest role that he had, I think, was Chuck. There was a TV show called Chuck. You know that one?
I know Coach.
No. Chuck. Chuck would be the one that I'm talking about.
What the hell is Chuck?
Chuck was a TV show from 2007 to 2012.
Is that like USA?
Chuck was on, I'm not going to look.
I think it was.
I think it was on USA. I think you're right. And I never watched it, but a lot of people were big fans of this. He was like a CIA agent or something like that.
Oh, so he's like Monk, but not with the monkiness.
Well, yeah, because at the time on USA... Oh, actually, it was on NBC. I'm sorry. It was on NBC. So, but at the time...
Well, they owned the...
Yeah. But it was similar to Monk and Psych and all those other shows. He was a CIA agent, unlikely CIA agent. And so that was his big claim to fame at that time. But I think he's done other stuff after that. I just don't really know of many things that he's done after that.
He literally comes off as if... And I don't blame him for this, but I literally feel like the direction for this film was like, we wanted Paul Rudd. We couldn't get Paul Rudd because we're 5 years too late to the punch on Ant-Man. Be Paul Rudd.
It's true. It's true. They did want that sort of character in this film. So in this case, Shazam is actually a 14-year-old boy.
Hell, this is almost like a superhero version of like 40-year-old virgin.
Yeah.
That's what I was always thinking about. I was like, oh god, like Paul Rudd's like sitting there at a convenience store, then all of a sudden he's back home playing Mortal Kombat. I'm like, hey, they took that from 40-year-old virgin of like Seth Rogen and Paul Rudd playing Mortal Kombat Deception, but in this one it's MK10.
That's a stretch. That's a stretch.
Well, that's just what it made me think.
But except
it's missing the Do you know how I know how you're gay? Part.
That is true.
Yeah,
they probably should not include that in this film.
Why? They say shit every other word.
But
just skirting past what passes as PG-13 these days.
But the Shazam, the storyline involves a 14-year-old kid, who is Billy Batson, who is a orphan at this point, and he becomes Shazam after he's recruited by a wizard,
a desperate old wizard.
Yeah, a wizard who has to find a suitable candidate to take his place because he knows that his power is weakening and he needs to find a new person to do all of the things that he does to uphold the world and
magic
and keep bad guys at bay. And so, he's been trying to find this good person who has really no bad qualities at all for so long that he actually ends up accidentally making an alter enemy out of another person who he had interviewed in the past.
Well, this is kind of the whole idea is kind of stupid because he's like, I'm looking for somebody pure of heart because somebody else fucked it up. They went turned evil.
Yeah.
So I'm looking for someone completely pure of heart to protect against the 7 deadly sins. Wasn't mankind formed out of the whole reason there's original sin is because the 7 deadly sins, and I'm no biblical or theologian, but so mankind's already imbued with these kinds of sins. You ain't finding anyone pure of heart, especially a 14-year-old orphan who's a street rat urchin, just looking for his mommy.
Digimon Digital Monsters wants to find the perfect candidate, right? He wants to find someone who
is pure,
has literally no bad qualities whatsoever.
Guess what? He was born 2,000 years ago. His name was Jesus Christ. Guess what? He's dead!
Yeah. And
just pick some schmuck and be like, oh no. We're like, yeah.
And so what we barely witnessed at the beginning of the movie, because we came in 1 minute late and it was already
fucking
in progress. It was like when
Well, that was the best part. We were walking. Juan. All right, so this is the best part about the whole movie. When I get my ticket printed out, they just give me a cut off a piece of paper and write the theater that I'm supposed to go into because the printer's not working, which pisses me off because I saved the stubs like an idiot just to be down the line when my memory's fried. I'm like, what movies did I see? Can look back and be like, saw that. But so they just had a piece of paper, cut it out, and wrote the theater to go into. So we started walking, and Ryan just instinctively goes into Theater 7, which is usually where the big films of the week are playing, like the big box office films. Nothing's playing in there. Oh. Okay, well. And these guys are following us, hey, I thought I was seeing, are you guys going to see Shazam? I'm like, yeah, we're going to see Shazam. It's it said theater, they told us Theater 3, but it's just music playing. There's no picture. I'm going to go, we'll go find out. And so we walk in there, can't see, it's dark as shit, using our phones to light up where to sit. And you can't see anything, and then 4 minutes in, it's there's the picture. Apparently, we missed a lot because he's in some goddamn ancient temple.
Yeah.
He stumbled upon the Enchantress's fortress in Suicide Squad.
Yeah, but what we barely saw at that beginning part was that actually the wizard tried to recruit the film's villain, Dr. Savannah, as
Which they do not say his name enough in this.
They don't.
It's true. Mentioned twice.
That is true.
And I told you at the end, I was like, was this... Because the only Shazam villain I know is Black Adam.
Yeah.
So I was like, was that supposed to be Black Adam? Because he does have the power... Black Adam's got the same powers as Shazam, except he's imbued with the power of the Egyptian pantheon, not the Greek pantheon.
True.
So I was like, was that supposed to be Black Adam? I don't what the fuck's going... who the fuck is this guy?
Yeah.
But
they do... But so at the beginning of the film, they do set up that idea that the wizard has actually created an enemy by trying to find a person that is completely perfect, because what ends up happening to...
This little boy went to grab the Tesseract, the magical stone that's kind of like the Tesseract, and he's like, no, only those of pure heart can touch that, and then he shoos the boy away. And
yeah. And so that ends up forcing Dr. Savannah to spend his entire life trying to get back to this wizard's temple so that he can grab the
Tesseract,
whatever it's called, the special stone, and use its power for evil, because at that point he's sort of been tainted.
And not like that, because it's his father and brother think he's a piece of shit. You know, this nice little 8-year-old boy. Which don't you love that? Which don't you love that too? When like they get in the car accident and the brother's like, "You did this, you." It's like, no, you were in the middle of the road, like, you know.
Right? Yeah, you just kind of sat in the middle of the road.
Yeah, as you got plowed by that truck.
Yeah, I did like.
Don't you love that movie cliche though, and like TV cliche where the character's just like, "Ew, this is your fault." Nah.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I like that, and I think that in this film, Dr. Savannah, as the main antagonist, is probably one of the weaker points of the movie, and that's because
it follows the DC trope of having dog shit enemy villains.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, Dr. Savannah, despite the fact that we get an introductory prologue about him, is very one-dimensional as a character. And you know that because you see Mark Strong, who's a fucking white, bald-headed man with sunglasses on, and you know immediately, yeah, that's a bad guy. That guy is like the prototype of a bad guy.
You brought up the cogent point of like, why can't they ever be the good guy? Like,
right.
You know, just like, hey guy, oh wow, hey, yeah.
Like when you see Dr. Savannah in his laboratory, sitting in the back as his assistant is interviewing someone about going to the Wizard's Temple, you're not thinking like, this guy's out for good. You're thinking like, this guy is
out for blood.
Yeah, this guy's completely evil.
Because this is even before he's like, tell me more, you know. Yeah. Tell me what was on the clock, you know,
and I will say, I think Mark Strong does a pretty good job, and they do a good job of making Dr. Savannah into sort of a parody of a bad character, but at the same time, I would have appreciated them doing a little bit more to make sure that Dr. Savannah didn't look like just a generic villain 101.
They should have gotten, you can tell the role was written for Kevin Spacey.
Yeah.
He's just like, have a nice ball, you know.
Well, at this point, Kevin Spacey is pretty easy to dislike, so if they stuck him in like a antagonist figure, you'd be like, fine. You know?
I know, but it's like the perfect like Kevin Spacey like.
No, it is, yeah.
Yes.
Especially when Dr. Savannah strolls into his father's board meeting.
Oh man,
with sunglasses on.
That's one of the I know, like that's one of the best parts too.
You know what? He's almost got like this fur mink
jacket
hood on. Yeah, it's great. I mean, that's definitely like the typical villain portrayal. And it's very generic, but at the same time, I did appreciate that little nod to just him being like absolutely ridiculously villainous.
I still think that whole boardroom scene of him using the 7 deadly sins to wipe out all the board members of his father's company, and his father and his brother, they ripped that off from Dogma.
Yeah.
That's what Matt Damon and Ben Affleck do. Is they're the angels of death, go to the movie's boardroom and slaughter everyone in there for being sinful, except this one woman. Like, no, you're pure. You're good. Go home.
Yeah, you mentioned that, and I don't know that scene that you're talking about, but I can imagine. Yeah, but so with Shazam, we have the whole prologue.
Could have been Michael Keaton too as the villain.
True.
In fact, he's in the movie as bystander with child number 2.
But for after that prologue scene of showing Dr. Savannah's character that his childhood and being passed up by the wizard, we do get the new main character, Billy Batson, who has been chosen by the wizard to be Shazam. And so there's a whole origin story of Billy Batson facing his own internal demons about being an orphan and being left by his mother, and then becoming Shazam and accepting a new family of people that have been adopted as part of his own.
Not adopted, they're fostered.
That's true, they're fostered. That's right. And so Billy Batson is basically the combination of very emo Spider-Man 3 Tobey Maguire and
he's just missing the
and the more contemporary Spider-Man. And I think that
he's got Latin Aunt May.
That's true. You do. You have Marta Milan as Rosa, who is his foster mom / fantasy stepmom porno. I guess, in his dream sequences. And so Billy Batson is sort of this a character that you get more information about because he's the one that's continuously searching for his mother after he lost her in a crowd when he was about 6?
I don't
know.
No, like 3.
The kid does not look 3.
Yeah, you know what? And his mom doesn't look like she's 17. But
that's true. That's true.
Guess what? Guess what? We got 50-year-old so and so playing 17-year-old. Oh, I just wanted to leave you there because I.
Yeah, you're right. 17. You're right. We got to go by the internal logic of the film, but the kid doesn't look 3. But yeah, so his mother loses him when he's 3, and then Billy Batson spends his entire rest of his life trying to find his mom, and eventually...
Which, if you think about it, I know the foster home system kind of sucks.
Yeah.
You don't think there's they don't have access to at least a database, here's your mother's name, this is where she's at,
Well, they probably, and you kind of see that a little bit in the film, but they don't really give it out because... they're concerned for the foster child.
No, but I'm just saying. So, I mean, if anything, they probably already know.
Probably. Yeah, they probably do. Yeah. But Billy Batson, that's his main point throughout the film. This is why he's emo. That's why he's upset. Because he can't find his mother. And that's the big storyline behind Billy Batson's character. Now, the one thing that doesn't really... work for me that much in this film is that Billy Batson as a kid, as the 14-year-old Billy Batson, is very upset all the time. He's not really personable. He doesn't have a whole lot of friends, and he's not into even having a family with his foster family.
He's got the best foster family in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. He's got the one dude from The Walking Dead, and he's got a really hot Latin mother.
And they've been foster parents, so they know, and they actually are,
they're not cool, they're hip,
and they, they care, they actually care, and
And the one thing that really stood out to me is when Walking Dead Dad was having a conversation about Shazam, the superhero, and one of their kids brought up a counterpoint, and he's like, I like it. I was like, wow. A family that likes to have controversy in their discussions.
That's not
Yeah.
You'd be like,
ugh, wow. Now, that's a guy who's into the LGBTQ community. He refers to his wife as Latinx. He is woke. It's great. But, so you're in a good foster family when you experience that. But, anyway, with Billy Batson, as a kid, he's very, I would say he's intentionally dislikable. You're not really super rooting for him because he's kind of a dick, especially to his foster brother, Freddie, who is a crippled... He is.
Well, guess what? Freddie's not dislikable because he's a crippled. He's dislikable.
No, I'm not saying Freddie's dislikable. I'm saying Billy's dislikable.
No, I know. But I'm saying Freddie's dislikable, but it's not because he's a cripple. It's because he just fucking doesn't shut up.
Yeah. But he's a dick to Freddy, and he doesn't deserve it that much.
I want to know where Freddy had the money to get the bullet from that was in Superman's body.
Right, like the $600 bullet that's ends up getting lost in the film. But so Billy Batson's kind of a dick as a kid, and then when he becomes Shazam, though I think Zachary Levi does a really good job as Shazam. I don't know that it's...
being Paul Rudd as Shazam.
Yeah. I don't know that it's consistent with the character of Billy Batson. So, when he becomes Shazam, he shouldn't become
There's nothing to show that it's like a split personality. It's him imbued with this magical power.
He just becomes an adult person with a great figure, muscular, toned, very handsome man. That's, but there's no reason why he should like change his personality as well. And I would say that, though I think Zachary Levi does a good job, I don't know that Shazam's personality is consistent with Billy Batson throughout the film. It doesn't really make sense that Billy Batson's constantly emo and, moping around, and then he becomes Shazam and he's completely different as a person. And that was one of the biggest drawbacks that I had with the film, is that I wanted to see at the beginning of the film, as Billy Batson is exploring what it's like to be Shazam, I wanted to see him be sort of the same sort of down, mopey, Eeyore style of character.
Like, oh, I don't know what the fuck can do.
Right, yeah, exactly. Like, as you're exploring the powers that you do have, and set to an entire montage of
YouTube videos that get ridiculous amounts of hits in no time.
Yeah.
It's almost as unbelievable as in RoboCop remake of 1 trillion copies of, software being sold on day one.
Yeah. I did want to see Shazam being a little bit more down to earth, at least at first, until the film was able to have Billy Batson have sort of a character epiphany. And I don't think that takes place. So it's a little bit weird to have Zachary Levi so upbeat as Shazam, while Billy Batson, played by Asher Angel, is more down when he's a kid.
What a fucking goofball name that is.
Yeah, Asher Angel. Yeah, they should have, instead of Billy Batson, they should have just used his real name, Asher Angel. That would have been an acceptable comic book character name.
That's just wow.
Yeah. But throughout the film, so I did like the 7 deadly sins in this movie. I like the representation of the 7 deadly sins and what they did with the sort of demonic gargoyle statues. I think that's pretty cool. And one thing that stands out to me about this film is that it does not suffer from the absolutely atrocious CGI of past DC films.
Yes, but at the same time, I think the whole kind of concept is very Steppenwolf, bottom of the barrel.
With this is the last sort of villain that you would
they're all
very very
well, not only that, but it again falls in Steppenwolf, just generic demon figured gargoyle. And it's that was Ares, that was Steppenwolf.
But I think it's more appropriate for a film like Shazam that's just starting out in the series, rather than have it be a Justice League style Steppenwolf. Because in Justice League, Steppenwolf is sort of a very minor character to have as your main antagonist. Whereas in Shazam, as you're starting out the film franchise of Shazam, you might want to go with a lesser villain.
Well, see, that's the whole point I got to in the beginning, saying how you're saying this is a great start to the Shazam franchise. You can probably only do 2, maybe 3 Shazam films before you've again. And it's not just because of favoritism or anything, but it's not. Most superhero characters do not. Actually, not just most. Almost every superhero does not have the rogues gallery of fucking either Batman or Superman. Mm-hmm. So you might get 2 films out of most characters. So you have to in the in-between time before you get to the group movies where you get to face a big villain, you gotta do more of a Batman or something. Because again, even though Wonder Woman's this great character and she's doing so much, there's only so many films you can do with her particular rogues gallery before people are who the fuck's that?
Yeah.
Well, and with Batman, it's gonna take a long time before you get down to the list and it's we're doing a movie with Batman facing off against the ventriloquist? This is kind of weird.
Yeah, or Kite Man or something.
Or, Calendar Man.
Yeah.
Well,
I do agree with that, but I think Shazam starts out okay because...
I'm not saying start off with Black Adam.
Right.
Because but I'm saying, in general, it's... They could have chose something that doesn't come across as Steppenwolf, as Doomsday, as because they all look the same, just these gray amorphous blob demon-like creatures.
Yeah.
So it's it makes me worry. When Doomsday finally shows up, what's he gonna be? Just this fucking gray gargoyle.
Yeah.
It's gonna look like that looks like shit, you know.
I mean, I think that they did okay with Shazam because I think that there's room to move from here. I think they can. And it seems like they're probably working towards Black Adam for a sequel in this franchise. And I think that while I don't love Dr. Sivana as a villain because I think that he's very generic and there's really no characterization to him aside from the fact that he lived a life where everybody felt like he was at fault for their problems. I think that it's okay enough to be like a secondary character that starts your franchise. Because, it's not someone that's gonna break your franchise in like where you can't move on from here. I think that they gave enough room where they can move on to a second film in this series. And
I agree, but like I said, I think the problem lies in the fact that it's already been done by your previous films. Choose something a little bit different. It's different than like with The Amazing Spider-Man, where they started off with the first film being Lizard Man or whatever. It's like, yeah, that's kind of like a second-tier Spider-Man villain, but it's different. It's something new.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is like a second-tier, like third-tier, bargain bin villain, but at the same time, it's, again, we saw this with Ares. We saw this with Steppenwolf. We saw this with Doomsday. Yeah. Just gray, bleak, emo-looking shit that just does creepy, ghouly things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just pick, like I said, I don't know Shazam's rogue gallery outside of Black Adam, but I'm sure there's something out there that would have been different and magical that you could have used. That would have fit, the profile.
Yeah. I think that, one of the things that they wait a little bit too long to get into for this film is the other champions that Shazam...
I think that was a wasted opportunity.
Yeah.
I don't think that should have been in the first film. His foster...
Think you should have waited?
A film or two. I don't think having the rest of his... I mean, granted, they all know by the end that he's Shazam, but I don't think that the rest of the the whole Happy Marvel family should have been anointed with him as, defenders of magic by the end of this film. Because that also makes the ending of this film drag on for fucking ever.
True. It is a long-winded... final 30 minutes, 40 minutes. Very long-winded because the fight and the whole winter carnival scene does take place for the entirety of the last
40 minutes.
Yeah.
Like when you get to the temple and Dr. Sylvana's like, yes, you give me the powers as the wizard, say his name, give me the powers, and it's like, we're getting near the end. Like, no, you still got 40 minutes left of fighting to go on.
Yeah, and I agree, too, that having all of the champions at one time sort of negates the purpose of a movie that's significantly about Shazam. Because, in this case, Shazam... I understand the theme of Shazam being more stronger with a family and, understanding that, you need help. I get that. At the same time, though, a solo film about Shazam should probably have him discovering his own interior powers and then facing his villain, and then later on have him discover, okay, wow, I need a team.
Because this is like a group, because again, because there's 8 of them.
Right.
Like, how do you go on from here on out, making every film's gonna be fucking 3 hours long and having 8 people crammed in there,
Yeah.
How do you do another Shazam film and then most of the films about Billy Batson and his problem, then all of a sudden, let me call on my foster family,
Yeah, it does take some of the appeal out of Shazam as a character. Because in this case, he is most of the time throughout this movie helpless against Dr. Sivana.
Which is hilarious. Just him being a 14-year-old kid, it's oh fuck.
Constantly getting smashed by Dr. Sivana.
And running away and
yeah. I think that there's room for champions, and I think that that's fine that they were going to do that. But I agree that I think that was probably best suited for another film that was like Shazam 2, The Champions, or something like that. Where he'd he now understands, okay, I need a team, and then it's sort of like a Justice League sort of style where you work in, or sort of like Hal Jordan and the Green Lanterns or something like that, where
he's part of a core,
right?
Yeah.
You have multiples, and you sort of left that for a sequel. I think that would have worked better, and it takes way, way, way too long in Shazam to actually get to that point. Where at that point, he's already faced off against the main villain like 3 times, and it just seems like it takes a little bit too long. I think we always say this. I think we always say this in superhero movies. But this movie could have easily been cut down. It could have been cut down to like a nice brisk hour. I don't even know about 90, but I would say an hour and 50 at least.
I'll say an hour and 45.
Right. You could be cutting out
that last fight sequence did not have to be 40 fucking minutes of just going on and on and on. It just never ends.
However, one area that I would not cut is the really, really funny villain delivery from Mark Strong as Dr. Sivana, and they're both Shazam and Dr. Sivana are in the air, but they're about a mile apart, and Dr. Sivana is just saying like generic villain things,
like I will crush your heart and eat your soul, and then it's going to Shazam like, what? Can't hear you. You're like a mile away. Like, and he's like, I will, suffer all the plagues of Egypt upon you, and he's like, still can't hear you. Yeah, fuck it,
Yeah. Well, I would say that not all of Shazam's humor lands. That scene in particular is probably one of the best that DC has ever shot. I would say throughout all of the DC films, it's probably one of the best scenes. I wouldn't say that all of Shazam's humor
hits. No, it's very 50-50.
Yeah, especially like some of the aspects with Shazam as the character Shazam work better than Billy Batson as Billy Batson. I find that there's a discrepancy between my enjoyment of the film when it's Billy Batson versus when Billy Batson is Shazam.
No, you're correct in saying Billy Batson is literally like Tobey Maguire and Spider-Man 3, just fucking moping around. He
definitely brings the film down whenever Billy Batson is on scene. Yeah. I don't know if that's particularly Asher Angel's fault or how they wrote the character.
No, I don't think it's. I think it's more just how it's written.
Yeah, I wouldn't blame him particularly, but I just think that Billy Batson as a character will brings whenever he's on screen, he brings the film down significantly
because I think most people too like, what an ungrateful little shit.
True. I mean, I think that part of that problem too of him seeming unlikable and ungrateful is that the film does not really spend that much time after Billy actually finds his mother. That's a very brief moment that sort of ends and it's just like forgotten about. Like, oh yeah, you have another family, and Billy Batson like, yeah, that's right, I do. So what that my mom doesn't want me anymore?
Yeah, no, he's basically like, I'm gonna go back to my real family now, at the ones I've been dicks to. I hope they take me back.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like a very brief and
like imagine if you went back like, we can do this because we're a family, and they're like, what? Fuck you.
Yeah, you've been a little shit. Yeah. We don't really want to be a family anymore. No. And you're like. They're like, yeah, Walking Dead dad and Latin mom, they just signed some paperwork, and you're going back to the hospital.
Because you ran off, like, again, like, yeah, fuck,
Yeah, but...
which they take, again, like, this just shows how cool they are. They're like, oh, he ran away. We know he does that. It's okay. He'll come back, and we'll welcome him back with open arms, and...
We'll just have a nice family that loves him, and if he doesn't recognize that, well, that's... What can we do?
The whole speech about a home, like you can make it a home, a house a home, but it's not a home until they accept it as their home.
Yeah,
it's like, wow,
great parent,
deep.
Yeah,
But
yeah, I would say that. So Shazam's best moments are when Zachary Levi is on screen as Shazam. The worst moments are when Billy Batson's on screen. So there was always a time where when he yells Shazam to change back into Billy Batson, I was like kind of dreading it. I was like, fuck. Because
he just comes off too as like Kevin McAllister running around from like Home Alone 2, just like I'm just expecting him at any moment, like at the Winter Carnival, running around like running the fucking pigeon lady and be like, ah!
Yeah, and the other problem with having all these champions that are super jacked is that I know that a lot of these kids are going to have some serious self-image issues after they grow up, and they're like, why don't... when they grow up, they're going to end up being like super schlubs, and then they're going to be like, I'm not going to live my life like this.
Well, one of them's not even a kid. She's going off to college.
That's true. Great, yeah. Grace Pollin's character Mary is...
Like, why do they even have to have, like, superhero Mary? You could have just shoved her in a fucking...
Yeah, that's true. Like,
beefed up... Yeah,
she's not even, like...
She's 17!
Yeah. She's old enough to be her own superhero.
Yeah.
But, like I said, I think they're going to have some serious self-image issues. And at a certain point, they're just going to be, like, constantly in Shazam mode.
Now, my question is, like, do they have to have Billy around and get all together to the staff and say Shazam? Or can they all now say just Shazam and they turn into their champion
it's a
form?
Good question. I don't know.
They didn't really explain that. By the way, when Billy meets Shazam, the wizard, who's losing his power, I'm losing my powers, Billy, and I need you to grab my staff and say my name. Like, I just wanted him so bad to yell, like, Rumpelstiltskin!
Yeah.
Like, what's my name, Billy? Yeah.
Digimon.
It's just like,
Hansu.
If you don't get it right in 3 tries, I get to steal your soul,
Yeah. But, so, what did you think of the CGI? Because we've talked a lot about DC movies.
And how their
CGI they have really terrible CGI. What did you think about this?
It's fine. Yeah. Outside of the 7 deadly sins, like I said, because they just look like gray gargoyle statue blobs that we've seen, been there, done that. That was pretty good. It's not too bad.
The cityscape scenes looked pretty good. They definitely did not have the green screen effect of some of the other DC films. I've long accepted that these films will never have nowhere near the CGI as the Marvel films because they got fucking ILM working for them. So I think this is close though.
You'll never come close to Doctor Strange.
Yeah,
but
I think this is
all you can hope for is to be adequate and tone down the grayscale.
This is a good. I would say a clone of a Marvel CGI film. They do a pretty good job here.
Well, because it's a clone of a Marvel film. It's Ant-Man, Spider-Man.
It's true, and they easily follow a lot of the same
beats.
Yeah, very much so. But at the same time, it does end up being a good DC movie because of that. And I think that they did a good job with the CGI here. And I really, I like that they took into account most people complaining about a lot of fight scenes taking place in like fucking fire and
brimstone,
and sparks flying all over the place, and you can't see what the hell is happening in this film.
Well, the ending does take place at night, but at the same time, we do get a day fight scene.
It's a lot clearer in this film what's going on, and there's not a lot of there's not all of that obstruction on the scene.
You're correct.
Because I feel like they used a lot of that obstruction in other DC films because they didn't have the CGI.
They probably looked at it like, we can't fucking...
Right, yeah. We gotta put stuff on there because it looks too plain otherwise. So, I like that they took that into consideration when making this movie.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's definitely one of the better looking DC films.
And I will say, too, that I don't think that Zachary Levi is that ripped.
I think it's all suit.
But the suit makes everybody look... fantastically ripped.
Codpiece and all.
It's like, I mean, I want one for myself, just to like walk around like.
So you be like SpongeBob and have like anchor arms.
Yeah, exactly.
They're not real muscles; they're blown up muscles.
That's right. Yeah, that's what I want. One of those suits for myself, just walking around.
I would just for the codpiece. Like, hey, ladies.
Yeah.
It's not real. It's all an illusion, magic trick. Get it? Shazam.
It's good though. What else did we touch on?
What did you think about the? I really enjoyed the whole convenience store scene.
Yeah. I think that's like probably another one of those best scenes that works with just because
that's something like a 14-year-old would do. Like, hi, I want your finest beer.
Yeah, that was pretty good. Yeah.
And like. It's over there. And then,
Yeah.
And then they get it and they drink it for the first time. Like, this it tastes like barf. And then they come out with a shit ton of like Slim Jims and Doritos.
Yeah, and energy drinks.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the other best scene in this film for comedy. Because a lot of like the 14, like the literal 14-year-old comedy, Billy Batson comedy, doesn't work that well. And some of it seems particularly mean-spirited. Like the whole bully sequences seem to take it way too far.
Bulk and Skull is like, they're murderers.
Yeah.
They're the kids from It and Derry, like fucking riding up in their Ford F-150 Raptor and like fucking hitting the kid, the crippled kid, and everyone's like, oh, they're just bullying. It's like no one's called, like, hey, they try to commit, vehicular manslaughter here.
The bullying is like definitely not what you would consider, lighthearted. Oh, they gave him a wedgie most of the time. Although they do mention a briefcase wedgie. But for what we see on screen with the bullies is really sort of dark and like very serious. And you would think that teachers would be sort of concerned that one of those kids is going to turn into a Columbine shooter. But the rest of the comedy with like Shazam is much more lighthearted, like the convenience store scene, and I think it works really well. But I was a little bit concerned with the PG-13 bullying that was going on in here, and ramping it up considerably.
I guess that is toned down bullying for modern day, because modern day bullying leads to mass shootings.
Yeah. But at the same time...
That's going to be the sequel to Shazam.
Yeah, like
Shazam
school shooting. Yeah. That was definitely... I was very surprised at the severity of bullying in this film. But I guess it's couched in real life. You know what I was thinking? The little girl who plays Darla, Faith Herman, she would be a very good Moon Girl from the Moon Girl and whatever that dinosaur is, Moon Girl and Dinosaur, whatever it's called.
Yes,
the Marvel series.
I don't. Moon Knight.
Well, it's based on that, but it's Moon Girl and Dinosaur, whatever the fuck it is. But she would make a very good Moon Girl as she gets older a little bit. That thought crossed my mind. So, agents, give me a call. I got other ideas. But anyway, I think that's about it. Like the music doesn't really stand out. It's just to me, definitely like just vague superhero music,
and threw in random pop songs.
At least it's not as pronounced as other DC movies. Although they do get Queen in here.
Yeah, that was That's
the YouTube montage, I think, right?
Ill-placed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which, again, the whole YouTube montage pisses me off. Oh, yeah, I just uploaded the video and it got a bit... YouTube has very serious algorithms these days, not some kid uploading a video.
The one thing that stood out to me is that no video is uploading at like 1% per second. That's absolutely asinine. YouTube definitely does not allow that sort of upload speed.
They got like Google fiber optics down in Philadelphia.
That does not happen. That does not happen.
Yeah, and like we don't have that up here. Yeah. I was thinking too. I was really hoping they'd mention like Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
Because they kept saying like Captain Finger, Finger Twinkle. How about Captain Marvel?
I'm assuming that's definitely a copyright thing. That they just literally could not.
You could do it it's a parody.
I don't know.
It's a joke.
The one thing they do, I mean, they get in a bunch of DC references though, which is kind of nice. I like that they
Boomerang, Batarang.
I like that they get those in there because we're still saying yes, we have a connected universe, but we're not.
And they're not retards. Like, what do you mean a superhero's running around? Like, oh, we got our own superhero.
Yeah, exactly. There's no it's not like it's out of ordinary for these.
It's people. Accepted now.
Yeah.
Which I got a problem. One is they're all like, "Hey, Shazam! Wow! Hey, yeah, Shazam! You're so cool and awesome." Didn't we just have like 2 movies ago? It's like everyone in Congress and the nation like, is Superman Jesus and doing too much?
Yeah.
Oh, we got magic Superman in Philadelphia now, though, and it's all hunky dory. No one gives a damn. It's just magical Superman. Kind of acts like a goof, though.
True.
No, was it after the end of like Steppenwolf, getting beaten? Like they weren't questioning, like, do we need Superman? Is Superman too powerful?
Yeah, everybody's very happy to see Superman in this movie too.
Yeah,
because he does make that cameo right at the end. And is it Henry Cavill?
Which, by the way,
probably not.
How'd that happen? Did Superman hey, good job, fly around and meet Shazam? Did Shazam go to Metropolis to find Superman? Like, how'd that happen?
No idea. He just knows everything. Well,
like I said, it'd make more sense for Superman to track him down. Because maybe he's keeping it, like, listening, like, as he's, like, fucking flying around the earth, and fucking Lois Lane, like, no, he's got it under control.
But the bigger question is, was it Henry Cavill at the end?
I don't
I'm assuming that it was not. I think it was a mustache issue. And I think that...
What are they gonna do now?
No, I'm just...
Is he still Superman?
I don't know. That's a good question, actually.
I mean, Ben Affleck is gone.
That's a good question.
Like, again, what is squandered opportunity? Somebody nobody thought would be good as Batman. You're kind of like, he's not that bad. He's one of the few good things about that. Now because everything was fucking crap from the get go. Now he's like, fuck this.
Yeah, I'm
going to rehab.
I believe that Henry Cavill is still part of the universe as Superman.
Just think
about
it.
But in Shazam, he was not.
I say, just think about it. He's been Superman for 10 years now.
Yeah, but can you really count that? He was Superman in one movie, and that took a long time. And then
Man of Steel, Batman v Superman.
No. But I mean, in Man of Steel, like, there was really no plans at that point. So do you really count that as part of the timeline? I don't.
Man of Steel is part of it.
I know that Man of Steel is technically part of.
Do I think it should
universe,
be? No.
Do I really say that he's been Superman for a decade when there was such a long time frame between Man of Steel and... I don't know about
that. Technicality, yeah.
I guess.
And again, it's unfortunate. I think at this point, might as well just reboot Superman and Batman.
They probably should, yeah.
Just like, have it already in great... so you don't have to suffer another fucking origin story.
No, I agree.
The
Batman definitely needs to reboot Batman as someone else.
Oh, they can't go with the Batman.
The Batman.
I hate that. Because anytime I think of the Batman, it's always like the animated Batman shows that are more kind of like... they're not bad, but they're kind of like more goofy. Mm-hmm. Like The Brave and the Bold.
Yeah.
Like the Batman, The Brave and the Bold. That's what we need. A Brave and the Bold style series Batman movie. Be like Shazam, just kind of goofy off the walls. Yeah. Be great. They'd fuck it up.
Should we give Shazam a rating? Excuse you.
Yeah, thank you. I guess.
All right. I gotta think of one. Out of 10, I gotta think of one. You got anything? You got one.
Geno's Steaks lunch
yeah,
bag.
Yeah.
Out of 10 Geno's Steaks doggy bags.
I don't even know what Geno is. That real?
I don't
Geno
know.
Steaks?
I've never been to Philly, so I couldn't tell you.
Either. Geno Steaks. Is it real?
I'm sure.
Yeah, it is. Okay, it's a real place. Geno Steaks. You've got new followers.
Is it in Philly though?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. Philadelphia. I don't know. That nice little real world touch.
Yeah. 10 Geno Steaks doggy bags. Which that was a total dick move. Stealing his sandwich and fries.
He's a kid who lives on the street. He doesn't have any food.
Yeah, he doesn't fucking need it. That cop does. He worked hard. By the way, dumbest fucking cops in the world, too.
True.
Where is it? Where are you? He's hiding back there. Where? Dirt.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that is true.
They got a promotion afterwards. Don't worry. I'll give it a 6 out of 10.
Okay.
It's enjoyable. It's probably, at this point, my favorite DC film. It's I enjoy this more than Wonder Woman, I would say. I do appreciate its goofy, lighthearted tone. It's definitely something in vein of like Guardians of the Galaxy, Ant-Man, or the new Spider-Man movies. Even though it's a total kind of beat for beat, story-wise, character-wise, and humor-wise rip-off of like the Ant-Man and Spider-Man films. If you can't do better, imitate. Mm-hmm. And I'd rather take a second-rate imitation from them than them trying to do their own pissy little emo shit that's just plotting, brooding, and goes fucking nowhere. I do think Zachary Levi is really enjoyable, even though he does come across as a Paul Rudd impersonator. I'm fine with that, because as everyone should know by now, if you listen to the podcast often, we're both big Paul Rudd fans and love him dearly. So, again, if you can't get someone, imitate. The jokes, constant barrage. It's like a nonstop barrage of humor. Therefore, it's not everything's going to hit, and it's very 50-50 with the humor. Some things are really funny. Some things fall totally flat. Definitely the least enjoying moments of the film is when we are with Billy Batson as himself. And I don't think that's Asher Angel's fault. I think he does a fine job as the character. But at the same time, you're right, the juxtaposition between who he is as himself and then who he is as Shazam is totally different. I mean, I can see how like a 14-year-old would have like a change in personality when he gets imbued with the powers and doesn't know what the fuck to do with themselves. Like it's like the first time you fucking find your dick and you're like oh hey, fun. But at the same time, it's so different because he's so brooding one moment and then like woohoo, Yeah. So the character consistency is not there. Mark Strong is Dr. Sylvana, though enjoyable and playing a parody and enjoying himself playing a parody of a generic villain. I think the fact that it is the seven deadly sin idea is interesting. I think it's just executed poorly and falls in the range of like Steppenwolf and Ares and other past DC villains of being just gray, generic, bland, take over the world, of course, villains. But overall, I do enjoy it, and I'd like to see where they go. And I do think, as we said, the whole adding the Foster family as the rest of the champions is kind of a missed opportunity, because that's kind of cutting your legs off, for future things to do story-wise. It's kind of like in Batman v Superman, them breaking out Doomsday. It's like, you don't need to. That's something for later, and you just ruined it.
Yeah, I would probably give this one a 7 out of 10. I did enjoy it, and I would say that I probably like this one the most out of all the DC films as well, even over Wonder Woman. I think that it's a little bit more fun than Wonder Woman. Has a better, I would say, better CGI, more grounded in reality. And I think that works well to this film's advantage. Like you said, it's very much akin to a Spider-Man movie or an Ant-Man movie.
They totally even the end credits, Ramones,
yeah,
cartoon drawings on a notepad.
Yeah,
it's like
the whole bus sequence of it falling off the freeway and Shazam saving it is straight out of Spider-Man. It's like the exact scenario of Spider-Man.
It was making me even think of the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man.
Right, exactly.
With the subway,
Yeah, it's straight out of Spider-Man. And so they really went back to a lot of what worked well for those types of films. And I think it was in their best interest as well, because like you said, again, even if you're going to copy something, at least you're going to copy something good. So you're making something that should be at least maybe not as good, but fairly good. And not really suffer from the same mishaps that some of the other DC films have had. So I think it was a really good idea all around with Shazam. I'm excited. I wouldn't expect myself to say this, but I'm excited to see a sequel to Shazam.
I want to see what he's like hanging around Wonder Woman, Superman, and Batman.
Yeah,
because he's gonna be like Ant-Man in Civil War. Like, Captain America.
Right.
Wow. Because he's a 14-year-old. He's going to be, holy shit, Superman, Batman.
Yeah.
What?
I don't want to see a Justice League with Shazam, but I want to see a Shazam with some of the Justice League, if that makes sense.
No, I'd like to see him in the Justice League.
Well, I'm saying I don't want...
Because from what we saw in the Justice League film and this, he does a much better job in the role of what the Flash does in the Justice League than the Flash does. Because the Flash in the Justice League is, again, like, he's supposed to be like, I'm going to be like Superman. Now it's like Spider-Man. It's like, fuck that. Billy's better, you know.
Well, what I'm saying is that I don't want to see a Justice League 2 anytime soon because I don't think they're ready for it. But I would like to see a sequel to Shazam with the Justice League in it so that he could meet them. I think that would be...
Release some of them.
Or I think it would be more effective than having an entire release, like a sequel to Justice League. I don't think they're ready for that, and I would rather them focus on individual characters a little bit more. So I'm surprised, but I'm saying I want to see a Shazam sequel. I think they're leading up to it, and they're doing a good job with that post-credit scene. And, I'm excited to see where it goes from here, and I think DC is actually on the right track. I want to know what the fuck
that little worm thing is.
I don't know it.
Not
familiar.
The way the voice was talking, I'm like, is that Brainiac? Because it sounded like robot, like you monkeys. You know, it's like Brainiac.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because that'd be like, like if they were to do 2 more Justice League films, right? Justice League 2 could be like with Brainiac, and then Justice League 3 finally Darkseid. Mm-hmm. Finally, building to all of that. Even though my heart's set on a Justice League film with Gorilla Grodd in it, I know that's not going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely am excited to see where this goes, and I think that they have done a good job setting it up. And I'm surprised, but DC has actually managed to put out a good, solid film that can start their franchises they were looking to do.
I'm hoping, Zack Snyder was kind of snooping around the set, and someone shoot him away. No, go.
Yeah.
Go over there.
This one's too bright and happy for you.
Just shoot.
Yeah. The only input he had was the bullies. Your bullies are way too nice. They need to be fucking running...
homicide.
Running cripples down.
Again, like I said, it's like Stephen King. It wasn't set in Philadelphia. It was set in Derry.
Yeah.
This is it too.
Yeah.
This is it chapter 2. But no, I'm excited.
Me too.
And I would I think it's going to be really hard for I do think it's possible, but I do think even still with this with Wonder Woman and this being on the right track, I think Aquaman was too convoluted for its own fucking sake to be something on the right track. But I think they can get there, but at the same time, it's there's so much damage being done. I don't think everything's totally salvageable.
Yeah.
I think even getting to a grandiose, dark, Infinity War style Justice League film against a 2-part fight with going up against Darkseid at this point, it's gonna take so long to get there. Marvel is probably gonna be fucking off doing something totally different.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think it's...
Especially now that they own the rights to X-Men and Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
Because they merged with 20th Century Fox. So, now, once, Infinity War is over with, some of the ones that didn't get, a big chance to shine, Doctor Strange and stuff, they can get their other own stuff. But, Iron Man can retire, Captain America can retire, and then we can start getting, X-Men, Fantastic Four, and,
yeah.
leading up to a new, because the New Avengers is a series of different Avengers, so you could have, the next Avengers line be the New Avengers.
Yeah, they're definitely on the right track.
I'm not even a fucking comic book geek, and I can map this shit out better than these assholes. It's not rocket science.
I know.
Gonna get angry again.
So next week, the plan is to do Pet Sematary.
Back to back!
That's right. So we'll be back.
Hopefully it won't be pulled out of theaters by then.
Yeah. So we'll be back next week with Pet Sematary.
I'll give you a hint on the review. 10 out of 10, John Lithgow's in it. That's why Third Rock from the Sun's the best sitcom of all time. Yeah. John Lithgow's in it. Why the best season of Dexter is John Lithgow.
So we'll be back next week. You can catch us on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, what have you for podcasts. We're on all of those.
And before, too, you give the usual roundup on where to locate us. Just want to say and put this out there for everyone to know. Once again, when it comes to March Madness, I am the champion. And beat Ryan once again.
Yeah.
And I don't even watch anymore.
Yeah.
That's my victory lap. Putting it on the podcast.
There you go.
Beating you in the brackets again. You pulling the Democrats and like bitching about the Electoral College. You bitching about ESPN. They just don't wait the first round enough.
They don't.
Because all you got to do is get the national champion
Continue
right.
to say that, yeah.
You just got to get... So, stop picking Duke and Gonzaga. And pick the good schools with solid seniors. That's what wins. Teams with seniors.
Yeah.
Not the team with Zion and his shoes blowing out.
So we're on iTunes, Stitcher Podcast, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, whatever you used for podcasts, we're on it. So subscribe to us, leave us a nice review. We're on Facebook at facebook.com/bloodandblackrum podcast. We're on Twitter at bloodandblackrum. We have an email address at bloodandblackrumpodcast@gmail.com, so you can write to us and let us know what you want us to cover, whatever you like on the show, what you don't like, and we'll take that into consideration. So hopefully you'll come back to listen to us next week as we talk about the Pet Sematary remake, and we'll see you soon.
Take care.